Hello, magical experimenters. It's been a while since I've been on here. I decided to take a break from shooting videos, and just I've been doing a lot of thinking and reflecting and resting and meditating in the last month of 2022. This has been a rough year for me, a hard year. I've learned a lot of lessons. I think the one thing that's good about a hard year like this is that, I'll come away from it knowing that I've learned a lot from that year, knowing that I've come to some really deep realizations and work as a result of this year. So I know that that doesn't make the year any less hard for me. I started out this year in 2022 hopeful. I bought a house, had a magical partner I was working with, and things seemed to be pretty good. And then, the year progressively got worse. I mean, this ended up being, I would say, one of the worst years of my life. And I can't put that on, you know, I mean, I can say some of that is because of certain things that happened with certain other people. But at the end of the day, really, it boiled down to mostly a lot of it was me. I think that the biggest realization that I came away with was fundamental lessons that I learned about my weaknesses, about myself, the things that I see about myself now that I didn't see at the beginning of this year, that I didn't even see, honestly, if I'm being really transparent here, that I didn't even see up until the end of November, beginning of December, um, when I really kind of had to call myself to account for something and really rest and reflect on it. And one of the reasons I haven't really shot a video in the last month is because a friend of mine pointed out with the last couple of videos that I shot, he's like, this is kind of performative. And I thought about that and I'm like, you know, he's got a point. One of the realizations, one of the lessons I've had is I I have been guilty in the past of oversharing on social media. Um, and the reason I've been guilty of that is because I think social media creates this false intimacy. It's a one-way direction, though, for the most part. I mean, I can comment and say hello to Jeffrey 524 here, and other people can comment on here. But it creates a false kind of intimacy of sorts, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or somewhere else. You can end up you can think that you're bearing your soul to somebody, but you're really not. You're not having that truly deep, intimate connection. And something that's really helped me in this last month is that I joined a couple of men's groups and getting together with people, whether it's like online in a Zoom conference or in person, and being able to talk and share and connect and to hear their experiences as well makes such an important difference. That's where you find that genuine intimacy and connection. And in a way, I think, the pandemic was part of this for me, but I also think, it just becomes very easy to isolate yourself. And what I've learned this last year is that I really can't do that. And I can't limit myself down to just a few people because that's not necessarily healthy either. I mean, I think one of the realizations that you can come away with too is that, you can get really attached to a type of relationship and fixate on that relationship as a way to ground you, but that's not necessarily healthy for the relationship, and it's not necessarily healthy for you. So when I look at 2022, I see these patterns, these themes that came out. These were things that really I should have been working on in 2021 after I got divorced, but I didn't. I started to, and then I got distracted, and I let a distraction get in the way. And you know, since July, I've been doing a lot of internal work and processing. Some of that I've shared on here, the realizations I've had, but some of it's really been coming to this in the last month too, and like really coming to an account with myself about the consequences of my actions over the last few years. And it's interesting. It's not. I'm not coming at it from a place of judgment or shaming or guilt. I've certainly felt a lot of toxic shame and some guilt in the last month, and I've been working my way through that. But I've come. It was interesting. The other day, I came to a point of clarity where I was like, yeah, these were the things that I did, and I can take responsibility for them and make sure they don't happen again. And I can be a better person as a result and be better moving forward because I realized these things. And part of this was there's been a few books that I've read this year that I'm going to really, that I would highly recommend. One's called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. And this is really for any of you guys out there, but I think women would find it interesting to read too, or people of other identified genders. Um, it really helped me understand my specific tendencies and the ways that I show up and sabotage relationships. I came to understand that in a lot of ways, and this is also what's helped me change my relationship with social media. I came to realize that a lot of the reason that I've done the things that I've done has been because I wanted acceptance or to be liked by people. And I can tell, I mean, I can trace that back to early childhood and all that stuff. It doesn't really matter. That's what's been there. Well, now I'm realizing, like, it doesn't matter how hard you try, you're not guaranteed that other people will like or accept you. And in fact, it's pretty much a shell game. It just doesn't work, because if you're constantly looking for validation from other people, you're trying to be what they want you to be. And the problem with that is that when you try to be what they want you to be, you give up your own authenticity and your own creativity. You're giving that away. And that's a lot of what ended up happening to me is that I saw how not even just in this last year or the last couple of years, but really over an extended period of time, how often I'd given away my own authenticity, my own integrity, and other things. And I can't blame that on the other people in the equation, because it's not really on them. It's on me, And I did it out of a fear of not being accepted, a fear of being rejected and abandoned, and all that other stuff. And yeah, we had some Mueller years, 22. Yeah. So, I realized that, and I thought to myself, so that was kind of the big lesson for me. It was like, okay, you know, a lot of the reason why I do the things I do is out of a desire to be accepted and liked. I need to stop doing that. That doesn't work. I'd rather be. I would rather be myself. And some people might say, well, Taylor, you've come through here so aware, and some of these videos I watch, and I'm like, yeah, but the thing is I've been very, these videos used to be focused a lot more on magical work and other things, and then somewhere along the line they became my therapy sessions. I mean, I guess this is kind of like that even now, but I'm pivoting away from that, and you'll see that here. One of the ways that I'm pivoting away is that I'm just not going to be doing these as much. I'm going to maybe do them once or twice a month, and that's it. I just don't have the time to do them. I'm starting to really shift things. But the other thing, and the other thing around it is I can't develop a genuine and intimate relationship with people that I'm not really connecting with. I'm connecting with you on here, but it's not the same as actually having a conversation with you. Sitting down face to face or talking on the phone or via Zoom is going to provide a more meaningful and deep connection. And that's, again, something I've realized, particularly in this last month, as I've gotten involved in these men's groups. And I've been like, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've been missing. So these have been good realizations, realizing my nice guy tendencies. And then what's been helping me along the lines of that need for acceptance and liking is that I've really pivoted and moved toward what I'd call a self-love model. I read this book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It by Kamal Ravikant, and it changed my life because him sharing like how he learned how to love himself. And I realized that that's really what I've needed to do. And I started that work. I started that work in like September, October is when around the time I started reading it, and that's when it really kind of came through for me. But it became one of those things where, you know, I shifted away from this kind of focus on trying to get liked and accepted by other people towards starting to love myself. Now when I go to bed at night, the last thing I say is, I love myself and I choose myself. These are the things that I say now. That choose myself has actually come from a book I'm reading right now called Choose Yourself by James Altucher, which again has just been, I'm reading it and it's really kind of helping me to reinforce this notion, because he's like, choose yourself. Nobody else is going to choose you. And I've really come to recognize that, because this last year, that was a big lesson that got hammered home for me. You know, when you're in a situation where you are repeatedly not chosen, and where it's repeatedly made clear to you that you're not chosen, and that you're not really, and that what you thought was important was really not the case, you start to, it starts to sink home. And that's the thing that I came away with. I'm like, I put myself into these situations where I have let other people walk all over me. And again, I can't blame it fully on them. I mean, I have to hold myself responsible for that. But I've allowed that to happen. And I'm not going to allow it to happen anymore. I'm choosing myself. I'm loving myself, and I'm choosing myself, and I'm being more choosy as a result, and with the people that are in my life, and really being more choosy as a result with just the kinds of relationships I get into. And part of that is because, again, I really kind of came to this awareness. Um, I will hit you up on that, Guion. That'd be pretty cool. Or you can hit me up. You can private message me on Facebook if you want, and let me know. That'd be cool. Um, you know, I came to this point of awareness where I'm like, I have to change the way I approach connecting with people. I can't do it anymore the way that I've been doing it. It's not working. So, so I read those two, or I'm reading the one book. I read the other book, and I also read "Live Your Truth" by Kamal Ravikant, which again, great book. Highly recommend it. So these, and I'm reading all these other books. I'm doing a lot of reading right now. A lot of reflecting. I'm doing a lot of work around sacred masculinity, and I am going to share more of that particular journey at some point. But I'm definitely joining the men's group has been part of that. It's kind of helped me see how masculinity does not thrive in isolation, which is contrary to the popular myth of the man. Men are supposed to be rugged and individual and all this other stupid chauvinistic crap, but it's just not true. Men do not thrive that way. Men thrive when we come together and we work together and we exchange together. And that's my experience more so than ever. And I'm convinced of that. But we put up a lot of walls in our society and culture to prevent that. And that's a lot of the things that I'm learning about and I'm changing. So that's and I did a lot of magic this last year. I did a lot of work with the Goetia, and I was part of this Demon a Week thing that Stephanie Connolly has on her thing. I shared my elemental magic work. I've been doing a lot of work with nature spirits. I've been doing a lot of work with other things. You guys are going to be seeing some books coming out for me this coming year. 2023 is definitely going to be the nonfiction year. 2022 is the fiction year. I've been working on, and I'm just about wrapped up with the final book in my fiction series for the Zombie Apocalypse Call Center. But I want to get back into writing nonfiction again and get some books out there. But I want to tell you now where I'm going. I've learned my lessons from 2022. You're not going to see me on here as much. You're not going to see me sharing in quite the same way, because I think and a lot more, and it's gonna I'm gonna pivot to focusing more on the magical work and on the things that I'm doing, the projects that I'm working on, and what those projects are teaching me. I'm gonna get this channel back on track because that's what it needs to be. I'm still going to do some sharing on here because I think that's important and it is part of the journey. But I think that the sharing has to be done in the right way. Um, but for me, 2023, if 2022 was a hard year, it taught me a lot. It taught me that I'm codependent. It taught me that I'm dealing with nice guy syndrome. It taught me how I have sabotaged the relationships, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship or other things in my life. And it helped me to really see these things and to get some perspective and distance from them. 2023 is the year of saying yes to myself. Actually, I'm going to be saying yes to myself for the rest of my life, but it's about saying yes to myself and choosing myself and saying no to everyone else. It's learning to establish it's continuing the work of establishing better boundaries for myself. It's continuing the work around getting some um getting clarity around what I really want to do with the rest of my life. I know I don't want to work at a call support center for the rest of my life. I've already decided that. And I'm really looking at what can I do to liberate myself from the day job that I work, because I don't like it. I don't enjoy it really one bit, and it's something I do in order to pay the bills. But it's like life is meant to be more than that. Life is meant to be more than just trying to pay the bills and trying to get by in life. And when people just get by in life, they're just going through the motions. They're not doing themselves any favor. You know, I'm in the situation where I'm pretty much distraction free. I don't have anyone that's in my life in a really deep, meaningful way as far as romantic stuff goes, and I'm planning on being single for a while. I you know I've gotten super focused on not just my writing, but I'm going to be starting up my coaching practice again in January. So yeah, I'm going to be starting up a coaching practice again to help people, and I'm looking at a couple of other projects. And all of these projects are really driven by a desire to emancipate myself from my day job, and get myself to a point where I can really focus more on the writing and the art and the magic and the other things that matter to me, while still making viable streams of income. And I don't need to make a lot of money. I figured that out. I spent some time figuring it out, and I'm like, okay, this is really about all you need in order to have a decent cushion. So, my that's my goal. At the same time, I am working on developing more meaningful connections with people, friendships, and really kind of, but doing it from a place of awareness and boundaries, doing it from a place where I'm not just, um, not doing it from a place of just kind of saying yes to other people, because that was my problem this last year. I said yes to other people and no to myself. And I did it in some pretty significant ways where I should have. And there was a point, particularly in February of last year, I was kind of like, why am I even doing this anymore? This isn't working. But I didn't put on the brakes, and I should have. And it it taught me the lesson of attachment and what happens when you become too attached to something. So I've learned that. And I realize more than ever that, like, you can't prioritize other people's happiness over your own. You can't prioritize. You have to prioritize yourself, and some people would say, well, that's really selfish, and I'd say, no, it's not selfish, or it's healthy selfishness. I want to be able to say yes to other people from the place of saying yes to myself. If I say yes to myself and I choose to say yes to someone else, that's different than if I say no to myself and I say yes to them. If I say no to myself and yes to them, I'm prioritizing them over me. If I say yes to myself and yes to them, then I've prioritized myself and I've said yes as a result because it really aligns with the vision for myself. So that's the lessons I've learned in 2022. As I said, you're not going to see me on here as much. I'll be on here occasionally still. I do want to keep sharing with you. Yeah, all we can do is forgive ourselves, others, build wisdom to overcome our wrong. Right. Well, and be better. Be better. That's the wisdom, is be better. And that's my goal. I'm just going to be better. I'm going to be better with myself and better with other people, because here's the other thing I've learned, and I will share this. This is really important. When you say no to yourself and you say yes to other people, inevitably you end up sabotaging those relationships. And I'm not saying those other people don't have their own responsibility and measure of things that they have to pay attention to, because, that's true. But inevitably, you sabotage your part of it because you're like, wow, I'm saying no to myself. And the no you say to yourself turns into resentment. And you might even project it on them and say, well, they're saying no to me. And in a way they are, but in a way it's more so you, because you're the one who accepted whatever it was. And so it's like, you got to start saying, when you say yes to yourself and then you say yes to them, you're coming at it from a place of informed awareness. And that's a huge thing. And yes, that's another book I read this year that was really life changing, Awareness by Anthony DeMello. Becoming more aware, like truly aware, and being able to step back and let go of my emotions and go to neutral. That's actually helped a lot in the last couple months. And I'm going to continue applying it for the rest of my life. So that's where I'm at. And, I just wanted to kind of create this video and share some things, and share some realizations in the work that I've done and the work that I'm doing. But yeah, next time you see me on here, I'm going to be trying to focus more on the magical work and focusing more on talking about that and kind of getting this channel back on track. And I just want to thank all of you for being with me on the journey here. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Happy New Year, and I hope that you have a fun time tonight.